2021 to 2030 is the International Decade of Healthy Aging, the International Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, the International Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, and the Decade of Action for Road Safety. It's the 5th day of the 12th and final month of 2022, the International Year of Sustainable Mountain Development, the International Year of Basic Sciences for Sustainable Development, the International Year of Glass, and the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. Put another way, the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season is over, but we still need to be mindful of unstable weather in this month of December, as some of us experienced last night coming into this morning. And so be mindful of unstable weather, even in this month of December. According to the National Meteorological Service, there's a high-pressure ridge across Jamaica. The high-pressure ridge is expected to remain across the island over the next few days. Additionally, windy conditions are expected to persist over the next few days, especially across the north coast, due to the presence of the low-level jet stream. That low-level jet stream is a narrow band of fast-flowing winds in the lower level of the atmosphere. Expect isolated showers across sections of northern parishes for the rest of this afternoon, partly cloudy elsewhere. Tonight, cloudy, especially across northern parishes. Elsewhere, generally fair. Regionally, there is a frontal system across the northern Gulf of Mexico and an area of low pressure across Panama. Disabilities Awareness Week activities are continuing here in Jamaica under the theme Embracing the Disabilities Act Towards Inclusion. It's Discovery Day in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The King's birthday is being celebrated in Thailand. It's Sinterklaas in the Netherlands, Day of the Ninja in the USA, and volunteers around the world are marking International Volunteers Day. It's World Soil Day. Hoy es lunes el 5 de diciembre de 2022 y les saludamos en cualquier parte del mundo que nos están escuchando en este momento. Estamos muy agradecidos por el don de la vida y el privilegio de servirles en otra edición de su programa, Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia. Nunca vamos a tomar su audiencia por sentado, porque sabemos que ustedes tienen otras opciones, y esta es la razón por la cual jamás olvidamos darle las gracias por elegir Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia, de lunes a viernes desde las 2 hasta las 5 de la tarde, aquí en Power 106 FM. La misión continúa para educar, capacitar, iluminar y estimular el espíritu empresarial. Bienvenidos. C'est lundi le 5 décembre 2022 et nous vous saluons tous qui nous écoutez où que vous soyez dans le monde. Nous sommes reconnaissants du don de la vie ainsi que du privilège d'être à votre service par une nouvelle édition de votre programme Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre. Nous ne considérons pas votre fidélité comme elle nous soit parce que nous savons que vous avez l'embarras du choix. C'est pourquoi nous n'oublions jamais de vous remercier de choisir d'écouter Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre, du lundi au vendredi de 13h à 5h de l'après-midi sur notre antenne Power 106 FM. Nous continuons notre mission d'éduquer, d'habiliter, d'éclairer et d'encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Bienvenue. All we're saying is it's Monday, the 5th of December, 2022, and we greet you well wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices, and that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to Both Sides of the Story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome. We started out this afternoon with the poetry of Jamaica's poet laureate par excellence, Claude McKay. I shall return. And boy, are the Jamaicans returning, coming home for the Christmas holidays. Welcome to those of you who just landed or landed a few minutes ago or a few hours ago, Welcome Home. And that's the recording that we shared by the stage crew. Welcome Home, that's Fab Five and Company. Welcome Home, that's the theme song this afternoon. With on this, the 339th day of 2022, which leaves us, that's 26 days away from the year 2023, 20 days away from Christmas Day for those of us who celebrate the season. It's been another tough year, and here we are, at least up to now, knock on wood, we give thanks. Let's be grateful. A lot of people who were with us within the last second, the last minute, the last hour, the last day, the last week, the last month, the last 6 months, the last year, no longer with us. And so grace has been accorded to us to stay a while longer. Let's make the most of it, and let's be grateful. Let's continue to be grateful in good times and in bad times. Some of us only celebrate the good times, but we need to build our resilience with the conditionalities of the bad times. And then again, we could stretch it a bit to question how debatable it is as to what is a good time and what is a bad time, as we have seen as well during COVID-19. What some of us would regard as a bad time has translated into a wonderful time for others. Everything is relative, isn't it? So it is. Good afternoon to those of you listening to us on 106.1, 106.3, 106.5, 106.7, and 106.9. From Morant Point to Negril Point, from the Goat Islands to Galena Point. This is Power 106 FM, serving Jamaica and the diaspora. Hello to those tuned in via the Power 106 FM app, which you have downloaded from the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on the nature of your device. Downloading is free, listening is free, whenever, wherever. We acknowledge those who have dialed a designated number to listen to Power 106 FM from the United States and the United Kingdom. Those in the US who wish to dial a number to listen to Power 106 FM can call 631-359-8281, 631-359-8281. If you're in the United Kingdom and you wish to dial a number to listen to Power 106 FM, your number is 0330-606-0953, 0330-606-0953. We're streaming live video on the Dervan Malcolm Facebook page. If you're not there yet, log on to Facebook. In the search box atop the page, type DERVAN MALCOLM, and you too will be able to not just hear, but see what's happening in the studios of Power 106 FM. If you do not have a Facebook account, no sweat, although you should still be able to watch anyway. There's always YouTube. You don't need to have an account to access the Dervan Malcolm channel on YouTube, the Dervan Malcolm YouTube channel. All you need is a smart device like a tablet, computer, desktop, laptop, smartphone, and from there you can go to YouTube and take it from there. And you should be able to find us. If you're not seeing us trending, then in the YouTube search box, type DERVAN MALCOLM, and you'll see how that goes. Let's see now what's happening. Brazil versus South Korea. World Cup football action continues. Brazil 2, South Korea 0. Now, this is Vinicius Jr. in the 7th minute, and Neymar in the 13th minute, a penalty in the 13th minute. And it's Brazil 2, South Korea nil. And yesterday was a special day for Kylian Mbappe, wasn't Mbappe? His surname stands for war and strife. Kylian, war and strife. And Mbappe means the fast player, the fast player. So I gather in whatever little reading I've been doing. And let's see. So it's Brazil 2, South Korea nil. Vinicius Jr. and Neymar threw a penalty. But Brazil put Brazil in control. Brazil qualified top of Group G with 6 points. South Korea scored stoppage time winner to beat Portugal in the final group game and finish second in Group H. The winner will face Croatia, who beat Japan in the last 16 on penalties in the quarterfinals on Friday. And you can read on your own the other developments there. So let's see. Good afternoon to Sean Chambers. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello to Norman Hines in St. Thomas. Welcome. Good to have you on board. Inez Ayona Campbell in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Good afternoon to you too. And we accept afternoon greetings on behalf of our listeners and viewers. Joan Edgehill says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan. You did a great job yesterday as host of the Peter Gracie Poetry Competition. You're very kind, Joan Edgehill. Thank you very much. Blessings to you too. Hubert Fowlin, I beg your pardon, without the G. Hubert Fowlin says, good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm, and your listening audience. Good afternoon to you, Hubert Fowlin, and we accept afternoon greetings as well on behalf of our listeners. Thank you very much. Let's keep it going here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world, taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5. The the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, and this is Disabilities Awareness Week. The Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, JCPD, is expressing concern that some schools are refusing to accept students with special needs, contrary to sections of the Disabilities Act. That's the word from the executive director of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. That's she's now doctor, right? Dr. Christine Hendricks. And she made the disclosure in an interview with JIS following a church service at the William Knibb Baptist Church in Falmouth, Trelawney on Sunday to kickstart activities for Disabilities Awareness Week. Well, we salute those educational institutions who have been gracious enough and humane enough to accommodate children with special needs. I know I can, please, I crave your indulgence as I and your pardon as I draw your attention to the fact that there's a school called Calabar High School, which has never, as far as I'm aware, in the years I've monitored developments at the school, never turned down a student. We've had students, even now, students who are either blind or visually impaired, and they always do well at Calabar. They ace their exams just like any other group, any other cohort of students. Also, the children of Rastafarians, the Rastafarian children, they always do well at Calabar High School, always, always the children of Rastafarians. Good afternoon to all those members of the Rastafarian faith listening to us here on both sides of the story, Horror 106 FM. And so we need more hands on deck and more educational institutions to see the positives in accommodating our children with disability, children with disabilities. So let's talk more about these matters as the week wears on. It is Disabilities Awareness Week, and the theme relates to the act, the Disabilities Act, and essentially it calls us to respond in kind. The theme, oh, I'm sorry, let's take the break and come back. 2:31 on Power 106.
Power 106 FM every last Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. for the NLA and You, a program that examines the National Land Agency's role in building an efficient and transparent land titling system for Jamaicans. That's the NLA and You on both sides of the story with Dervan every last Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. The National Land Agency, one agency, one goal, committed to serve you better.
It's a Monday afternoon, just after 2:30, and that means time for Land Solutions. Land Solutions, the program where all your land-related matters are dealt with. Anything at all to do with the sale or purchase of land, you've come to the right place. Here are the numbers to call: 876-922-4113-5, 876-922-4113-5. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number, which means you can not only send your text messages, your WhatsApp messages, your voice notes, but you can call us on WhatsApp as well. That number is 876. In fact, let's give you the WhatsApp line for Land Solutions first. That's 876-881-5254. 876-881-5254. And you can send your text messages and your WhatsApp messages to that number. The website is landsolutionsja.com. landsolutionsja.com. The email address is gloria@landsolutionsja.com. gloria@landsolutionsja.com. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/landsolutionsja, facebook.com/landsolutionsja. The law firm Brown, Findley and Company is headquartered in Suite 39 of the Winchester Business Center, corner of Winchester Road and Hope Road in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew. They also have an office at Shop 6 upstairs, the Jamaica National Building in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. You're encouraged to call ahead before turning up at the offices of Brown, Findley and Company. The numbers to call: 876-908-1950 or 876-908-3518. You can be in direct touch with the Ocho Rios offices of the law firm Brown, Findley and Company by dialing 876-974-6083, 876-974-6083. You should know as well that a lawyer is on duty at the Ocho Rios offices of the law firm Brown, Findlay and Company every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Every Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. In a moment, it will be time to say hello, good afternoon, and welcome. Attorney at Law on this week's edition of Land Solutions, Calicia Findlay.
Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon. Finley. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Land Solutions. And again, the text and WhatsApp line for today 876-881-5254. Again, that's 876-881-5254. Another message that someone is asking me to respond to that was sent to our Facebook page, and it's facebook.com/land solutions. That's for your two-part message. Can you use a will to obtain a mortgage? And if you are in the process of applying for a title, will a bank use the application itself to process the mortgage until the title is ready? The first part, can you use a will to obtain a mortgage? No. I think I see where this person is coming from. There have a couple of will to there. Maybe or maybe not. I'm not certain if they're in the process of applying for probate. A lot of people believe that once property has been willed to you, it automatically becomes yours. There's a form of processes that have to be done. So no, you can't use a will to get a mortgage. In order to get a mortgage for property that was willed to you, the will has to be donated and your name has to be advertised, registered title. Only once your name is on a registered title can you then use that title as collateral for a loan. The second part of the question, if you are in the process of applying for a title, will a bank use the application to process the mortgage until the title is ready? Unfortunately, no. Banks, financial institutions are very strict when it comes to lending money. Those of you who have ever had to borrow money from the bank know that they ask for everything. Sometimes they feel like they might as well ask for your firstborn or your blood type. So they are not going to give any exception. Even if you are simply just waiting on your title to be ready from the National Bank Agency, they will consider it until you have the title in hand. The title is what
Yo, go down for the weather. If you care with us,
the title is your interest on the tax. There really is no way around that. But so the second part of your question, if you are actually in the process of applying for a title, you're halfway there, so just hold out a little longer. And based on the information that put it to one that can a beneficiary beneficiary no, if the executor sells the property for less than the market value. Sometimes I feel like the property is dedicated entirely to the executors and beneficiaries. Yes, a beneficiary can
now
sue an
everybody guys,
executor
old school man, them
if
like,
the executor
you
sells
know,
the property for less than the market value. However,
when they get
it's
older
not
and them money
always
start,
very easy
start
because
decided,
sometimes
you start bringing other people.
what is a situation where the executor has had the property on the market for a long time and they just weren't getting any offers? Let's say they've had the property on the market for 5 years. Let's say the property is valued for $10 million, not getting any offers, and after 5 years they've finally gotten an offer for maybe $9 million or $8 million. In a situation like that, you really couldn't hold it against the executive for accepting that offer. If it's a case for the way you think that the executive was negligent, but perhaps it's like a valuation, or they have a valuation for 10 million and they went for that, there is something as glaring as that, and yet you can sue the executive. But ensure you consult your attorney first to find out the circumstances
That's a few of these guys say that they normally start
because
paying some, yeah,
just because it was below the
start
market
paying
value
some.
doesn't necessarily mean that the property is going to drop.
properties are sold all the time for less than market value. Sometimes persons want to get rid of the property quickly. Sometimes that is the only offer they can find or they can get, so they may have no choice but to go ahead and sell the property. What is the smallest size of land you can get title for? There really is no minimum or even no maximum size. You can get a title for anything. If you can find a survey to survey, go ahead and get it done and submit the application to the title office. I've never seen a title application rejected on the basis of the size of the property. There may be other reasons. Let's say the evidence that you have put forward is incredible or something else. Maybe there's some discrepancy with the survey diagram or the witnesses. I've never seen it rejected because they're saying it is too small or it is too large. So there is no law, no rule that says a piece of land has to be a certain size. So go ahead, get it surveyed and submit it and then see what happens. Back over to Facebook. What is the quickest and easiest way to get a tenant out of your house? Oh boy, there is no quick or easy way. There's no quick or easy legal way to get a tenant out of your house. If you want to get a tenant out of your house, you have to serve them with that notice. You have to wait until the notice expires. Once the notice expires, then you take them to court for what we refer to as recovery of possession. And then you get an order, and that can take several months. If you get the order for recovery of possession and the tenant is still there, you then have to go back to court to ask that a bailiff takes them out. Those are the steps, the legal steps in removing a tenant from your house. If the tenant agrees to come out right away, perfect. So that was the only way I can think of. That's it. That would qualify as the quickest and easiest way. If the tenant agrees to leave the property, you have to go through those steps. And I know I hear it all the time. It's unfair. They're in the house. They're not paying any rent. They're not taking care of the property. The notice has expired. Why can't I just go in there and fill them out? Why can't I change the lock? Why can't I take out the possession? Why can't I disconnect the water, disconnect the electricity? You can't because the law says that's illegal. The law says that's wrong. So even though they haven't paid you, you would know right to react and go in and let's say disconnect the electricity. And unfair as it sounds, the tenant can turn around and sue you for disturbing their their peace and quiet. So it's not a situation where two wrongs make a right. You can't respond to the tenant not paying rent by throwing their things out. You have to go through the proper channel. It is not necessarily the fairest thing, but that is what the law says. So if you are in a situation like this, just hurry up and go to court. If you have already served them with the notice and they're still there, once the notice is expired, go to court. And actually, for this, you can use an attorney, but it's not something you necessarily need an attorney for. You can go to the parish court, the nearest parish court, and the clerks of court are very helpful. They tell them you want to summons for recovery of possession. You don't even have to serve it yourself. But yeah, little extra, not a lot, but the court says it serves the tenant. This is not a solution.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:45. Season's greetings from the management and staff at G Land Titles Limited. We own land and have your title. We can help. Give us a call at 876-754-6426. Land and security.
Yeah.
Sipa Papa. Sipa Papa? Yes! Sipa Papa. Sipa Papa what? Sipa Papa Ital Jamaican Moringa Timber. Sipa Papa Moringa Turmeric Worldwide Mini and Mini Hand Wheat Tea Bags today. Sipa Papa tea is available in supermarkets island-wide. So Sipa Papa today. Distributed by Caramel Group Limited.
You're listening to Land Solutions during both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. Land Solutions, the program where all your land related matters are dealt with. Anything at all to do with the sale or purchase of land, you have come to the right place. Here are the numbers to call: 876-922-4113 to 5. 876-922-4113 to 5. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number for Land Solutions, 876-881-5254. 876-881-5254. If you wish to get in touch with the law firm Brown, Findlay and Company, you can call 876-908-1950 or 876-908-3518. They're located in Suite 39 of the Winchester Business Center, corner of Winchester Road and Hope Road in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew. They also have an office at Shop 6 upstairs, the Jamaica National Building in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. You're encouraged to call ahead before turning up at the offices of the law firm Brown, Findlay and Company. The numbers to call: 876-908-1950 or 876-908-3518. Once again, let's hand you over to attorney at law, Calicia Findlay.
Thank you, Dervan. A text message. Someone has a follow regarding what I just mentioned with respect to getting a tenant out of your house. The previous question was what is the quickest and easiest way to get a tenant out of your house? So this message, Miss Finley, what if you have been trying to serve a notice on tenants and they have disappeared? I've been trying for over 3 months. I feel like they may be overseas. Every time I go there, the house is locked up, and the neighbors say they have to leave them.
Skill is more than a
It's
football.
very careful
Believe
to
me,
stay
otherwise.
alive, and
Yes,
yes,
more than a
it's
football.
unfair. So you're trying to serve a tenant with a notice they haven't paid, and it seems like maybe they have moved out of the house. The law says you still have to, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the law says you still have to go to court to seek an order for recovery of possession. And because it's happening to someone, they were trying to get the tenant out, and then the tenant just disappeared. But the tenant's belongings were still in the house. So because the tenant hadn't gone back to the house for several months, the owner said, all right, this person has to go back out of the house. I'm going to take all their belongings out of the house so I can rent to someone else. I can't recall what they did with their possessions. But of course, the tenant showed up and sued the landlord for damaging their property. And the court said yes, the landlord really shouldn't have removed the property without an order from the court. So you have to be very careful. If you have time and you're not sure what to do, go to court. Get an order. Because the court did order that you go ahead and remove these belongings from the house, tell them to recover, and tell them to recover the rest. If you don't want to fix up on yourself, remove the belongings from the house, have the tenant show up and sue you for damages because that is a possibility. So be very careful, please. Continue with WhatsApp. If you sign a sale agreement in your name alone, do you have to cancel it and start over if you want to add someone else to the title? No, you don't. Most sale agreements have what we call an and or nominee clause. And that basically means you can add someone to the transaction. So you wouldn't have to cancel the sale and start over. When you are buying property, usually two documents are signed, the sale agreement and then what we refer to as the instrument of transfer. So if just one name is on the sale agreement, after you sign the sale agreement, if you choose to add someone else to the transaction, we can add that person's name on the second document, which we refer to as a transfer instrument. But you have to be very careful because if your sale agreement doesn't say and or nominee, you won't be able to add someone to the transaction. Also, if you are getting a mortgage, even if the sale agreement has that clause, the nomination clause, some mortgage companies may not allow you to add someone after the transaction has started. Some of the mortgage companies are strict. They want to ensure that only the persons named in the sale agreement are going to end up on the title. So if you are in doubt at all, think about it very carefully before you start the transaction. I know sometimes circumstances can change, but as much as possible, try to make the decision before or find out from your mortgage company before you sign off on anything. What is a surveyor's identification report and is it mandatory? A surveyor's identification report is a document we get from a surveyor which speaks to the property boundaries. It shows whether the boundaries are correct, whether there are any breaches of covenants or conditions on the title. So let us say the title says the building should be 10 feet away from the road, but instead it is 8 feet away from the road. That's a covenant. So the surveyor's ID report speaks to the boundaries of the property. It will show whether your property or someone else's property is encroaching. Is it mandatory? If you are getting a mortgage, yes, you must get a surveyor's identification report along with a valuation report. Once you are getting a mortgage, there's no way around it because your mortgage company requires those documents. If it is a cash purchase, meaning you're not borrowing any money, you're using all the cash you have to buy this property, you don't have to, it's not a requirement, but it is highly advisable. And most attorneys will not even do the transaction unless you get a surveyor's identification report. And the thing is, a lot of people will come and say, I've known this property for 30 years, I know the boundaries, I know everything, I don't think I need to spend any money to get a surveyor's ID report. You never can tell. Even as attorneys, we can't look on the property and say, yes, this boundary is correct. Only a surveyor can do it. And it doesn't matter how long you have known the property for. So please be wise and get a surveyor's identification report because after the property is transferred to you, if there are any issues with the boundaries, with the title, it becomes your responsibility. In fact, I recall a case with a colleague. Her client insisted that he did not, it was a cash purchase, and he insisted that he did not need to get a surveyor's identification report because he knew the property since childhood, so he thought that was unnecessary. She insisted, he said, no, absolutely not. I just want to purchase the property. She said, all right, fine. I'm going to let you sign something saying you are aware of the risks. He said, no problem. He signed it. Lo and behold, he came back to her a couple of years later to say, there is actually a breach on the property. Why didn't you tell me to get a surveyor's identification report? And luckily for her, she was able to show him this document to say, listen, Mr. So-and-so, remember I said that you should have gotten this report? And she showed him where he signed it. So he had to take on that correction of the issues himself. So please get a surveyor's identification report. How long How long does a divorce take in Jamaica, and is it possible to do it in another country? A divorce takes about a year to a year and a half in Jamaica. And that is if it is uncontested, meaning neither party is challenging anything. They're not challenging anything to do with the children, property, or maintenance. So if it's what we call a straightforward divorce, it can be done in about a year. For persons listening in from other jurisdictions, this may seem like a long time, and perhaps it is, but that's just the time it takes here. There's it may be you may be able to get a divorce in another country, and I know I'm aware that divorces take a much shorter time in other countries. So let us say you were married in Jamaica, but you are now living overseas. You can apply for a divorce there based on your residency. Or let us say you are a national of another country, but you were perhaps married in Jamaica, you can apply for the divorce in another country. However, though, if you are a national of Jamaica, you have always lived in Jamaica, you were married in Jamaica, both of you, then you have to apply for your your divorce in Jamaica. I don't think there's any way to get around that. And I recall a couple years ago, there were some advertisements promising quick and easy divorces in another jurisdiction, but those, excuse me, but those turned out to be fraudulent. And if anyone in Jamaica, excuse me, tells you that they can get you a divorce within a month, be very wary. There was also some major issues a couple years ago where those happened, and I think all those divorces turned out to be fraudulent. People thought they were divorced. They got their documentation in their hands saying they were divorced, but when the relevant checks were done at the Supreme Court, they had no record of those. So please be very careful when it comes to applying for divorces. I know, especially when it's a situation where one party just wants to get rid of the other person, or where one party wants to remarry and move on with their life, it is tempting to take the quick route, but the quick route may turn out to to be detrimental. And you don't want it to be a situation where you are also charged with fraud. So please go through the right channel. How long after an executor sells a house should they give the beneficiaries their share? I've been waiting for almost 6 months for the proceeds of the sale from my mother's house. I mean, there really is no set time. You should get the proceeds as soon as possible. Um, in our office, when as soon as a sale is completed, we end up with a payout same day, next day, a couple of days. I mean, if there's any delay, perhaps it's because maybe we're waiting on banking information, or if the client is overseas and they say they want to come to Jamaica or something like that. But you really should pay, whether you're an attorney or an executor, once the sale has been finished, you should pay out right away. I'm not certain why it would take 6 months. Have you had a conversation with the executors? I know sometimes a lot of executors want to wait and see if there are creditors, meaning if there's any money outstanding, did the deceased person owe anybody any money? But really, that's something they should have found out long before. So find out exactly from the executor what is the delay. If you're not getting an answer, then I'll tell you to seek legal advice and have an attorney contact the executor, because there really is, unless there's some compelling reason, there's really no reason why you should be waiting 6 months for the executor to disburse to you. It should be paid out right away. Again, our numbers to call in live on air, 922-411-325. The text and WhatsApp line, 876-881-5254. This is Land Solutions.
Coast to Coast Concrete, the high quality concrete for fencing, roofing, foundation, and road surfacing. Call 876-754-7472. The time by Coast to Coast Concrete is
3 o'clock.
Poor roads a major concern? What about those drains that are in need of repair or cleaning? Who's responsible for repairing my road and when will it be done? Join us this and every Tuesday morning at 8 during Morning Agenda as we travel on our roads with the National Works Agency and get answers to these and other concerns. You're welcome to visit their website at www.nwa.gov.jm. See the tender notices link for projects to be undertaken. You may also call them toll free at 1-888-429-5NWA. That's 1-888-429-5692. Or follow them on Twitter at NWA_JA and Facebook at www.facebook.com/NWA Jamaica. The National Works Agency, developing safe, reliable, and quality roads.
You're listening to Land Solutions during both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. Land Solutions, the program where all your land related matters are dealt with. Anything at all to do with the sale or purchase of land, you've come to the right place. Here are the numbers to call: 876-922-4113-5, 876-922-4113-5. The text line, same as the 154, 876-881-5254. You can also get in touch with the law firm Brown, Findlay and Company by finding them in the Winchester Business Center. That's Suite 39, Suite 39 in the Winchester Business Center. Of course, calling ahead is the general protocol, 876-922. Let's do that again, 876-908-1950 or 876-908-3518. We have a caller for you, Calicia.
Thank you, Dervan. Hello, good afternoon.
What should I bring to
next month, Sunday will come. So you tell us something up there. You just say, open come up to get a full slate of it. Don't get 6 months, 6 months. You know, I don't know, apart from that past now, I know the should have called me. President, I ease up the car for the accident. Only so don't pass. That's why I'm all some because I'm on you, come on. That's not the same machine as people.
And to make the direct application for the title, the first thing you would do.
Sammy, let's go watch beautiful football now.
Over for WhatsApp. I'm living here. My daughter's father put me there. It's his grandmother's home. His grandmother's daughter said I should stay there. She's the owner, but now the granddaughter is trying to put me out. I have been the third person taking care of the place. I even got a permission letter to stay there from the owner.
When you come to be
All right, hold on. Get back. If you have been there for 2 years, you may be able to make an application for the type. But I will need some more information from you. situation better because if you have been staying there with permission, you will be able to apply for the title. Also, this person, I think you say is his granddaughter, she will be able to take you off. In fact, no one can take you off unless they serve you with a notice and it will not expire before it comes with a court order. So what you need to do is regularize here. Either you try to make an application for the title if you qualify, or you get a lease agreement with the owner. That's something that you will need to do. And the first person is listing. If someone has given you permission to stay on the property, if it's just word of mouth, who knows something of your arrangement,
Sorry, Calicia, we lost you for a bit. I'm not sure why.
no problem. I was responding to this question about someone who said that they have been on the public sector in 2 years.
Yes.
And I was just saying that for persons generally, do you hear me still, Dervan?
Yes, hearing you better now. Yes.
No problem. If you have been on land, or if you are on land for quite some time, try to regularize your stay. Whether it is by trying to apply for a title or getting something in writing, if it's a rental agreement or a lease agreement. But you can't just be on land and you're not serving. You don't want to be spending money building a property, investing in the property, and then someone can come the next day and do off the property. So please regularize your stay. Apply for a title or a lease agreement. It just doesn't make sense to be spending all that time, energy, and money for a situation that's not serving. Over the text messages. If a house is valued at $10 million, how much are the debt duties? So when someone dies in Jamaica and we're setting their estate, we have to pay debt duties to the government, also known as estate duties, transfer tax, death, death tax. Estate duties are 1.5% of the value of the estate at the date when you die. However, if the estate is valued at $10 million or less, then you don't pay any estate duties. We get what we call a real estate. I think that's still in place, maybe still 3-4 years ago. If your estate is valued under $10 million, you don't pay any estate duties. Once it's valued over that, value of the estate at the date of death. So if the person died in 1999, that is the value that they use, not the 2022 value. So the person died in 1999, they use that date plus 6% interest from 2000 all the way to 2010. Again, estate is 1.5% of the value of the estate at the date of death. If it's valued for $10 million and under, you don't pay any estate. This is interesting. It was just a will expire. I made a will 15 years ago. It is still valid. A will does not expire. If you made your will 15 years ago, it is still valid. What I want to do is just to review your will, see any changes. Are all the executors still alive? Do you include all the property information in your will? If yes, fine, you don't need to change it. But some people, sometimes they make a will, many years have passed, they don't look on it, but they start to get their own money. And they're like, if this is a guy who don't own it all, they no longer own the property to make a will. So keep reviewing your will. And some persons, as soon as anything changes, if they sell a property, if it's valid.
4G, much I said, no, you know. 4G, much I said, no, you know.
Lost you at property. I think you said property. Lost a bit about it.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Uh-huh.
Lovely technology here. Let me know again. I will say, if you
You don't make money.
Better to keep you constantly review your will. You don't want to have a will and then it becomes irrelevant. Change their will as soon as anything changes. If they have sold a property, if they have acquired a property, if an executor is no longer available, whether by death, illness, or otherwise, even if a witness can no longer be found, some persons will go ahead and change their will. So, no, a will does not expire, it lasts forever, but it can't hurt you to keep reviewing your will every now and then to change it. The worst thing that can happen sometimes is having an outdated will. Sometimes having an outdated will is worse than not having a will at all. So let us say 20 years ago, you willed your property to John Brown, but now you are not on speaking terms with John Brown. If you die now, I'm certain you wouldn't want your property to go to John Brown. So as soon as anything changes in a relationship, please review your will. If I add my daughter to my house and it's the only thing I own, do I still need to do a will? My answer to that is that it cannot hurt you to do a will. Because God forbid, what if your daughter dies before you? What if you acquire another property and you're not able to include it in your will? So yes, go ahead and do a will. It can't hurt you to have a will. A lot of people will say, I don't need to do a will. My family will know what to do with my property if I die, or I don't have any property. It doesn't make sense for me to do a will. You never can tell what may happen. What if you die under unfortunate circumstances and you have a large sum of money coming to your estate? Wouldn't you want to dictate who should get that money? Because if you don't, it's the government who's going to say, all right, this person should get it. And I can't think of anybody who would want the government to say who is going to get your estate. So it really cannot hurt you to do a will. You can just do a general will. I will all my property to Mary Brown. Full stop. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. So let us say you want everything to go to one person. You don't even have to list out all the assets. I will everything to Mary Brown. So go ahead, do a will, please. If two people are on a title and they die at the same time, what happens to the property? The law says when you own property as joint tenants, if both parties die at the same time, it is presumed that the older one dies first. So if mother and son are on title as joint tenants, God forbid they die at the same time, the law says, or the law presumes that mother dies first, son dies last. So the property would go according to what son's will said. And if son did not leave a will, it would go according to what the law said. So let us say son was married, it should go to his spouse. If he's married with children, it would be shared between his children and his spouse. So this is a good example based on the previous message as to why everyone should have a will. Don't take it for granted that because you own property as joint tenants with someone that you shouldn't have a will. Again, how can it hurt you? Again, our text on WhatsApp line 876-881-5254 to call us in office. The office numbers are 876-908-1950, 876-908-3518. Facebook, facebook.com/Land Solutions. I'll get to a couple of Facebook messages after the break. This is Land Solutions.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:15.
Need water for agricultural purposes? Apply to the National Irrigation Commission for your irrigation services. Let's grow smart and eat smart with irrigated agriculture. Call National Irrigation Commission at 876-927-6727. Visit their website at www.nicjamaica.com or visit any of their office locations today. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
The Island Traffic Authority now has responsibility for government motor vehicle inspection services. This includes pre-inspection for repairs and servicing needed to minimize spending on government vehicles and post-inspection to ensure vehicle repair and servicing is done properly. The ITA also conducts research on the most suitable vehicles to be purchased for ministries, departments, and agencies of government after specifications are given. Call us at 876-754-1900 for more. The Island Traffic Authority, an entity for road safety good.
There's a retirement crisis in Jamaica, with only approximately 10% of the working population saving towards retirement. Many people do not participate in a formal pension plan, such as contract workers and the self-employed, and some are not eligible for a government pension. Every member of the workforce has the opportunity to participate in a pension plan and secure a monthly income for their retirement. Join Real Business every Monday at 9:30 a.m. for an informative discussion with Peter Rose Hall, Managing Director of BPM Financial, discussing the importance of retirement planning and the solutions to move Jamaica out of this crisis. Retirement Wealth Creation is brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher.
It's the final segment of Land Solutions for today. And therefore, now would be a good time for you to get in those questions, those lingering concerns, issues, anything land related, willing property, land surveys, etc., etc., etc. Now would be a good time to get in those calls. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until next Monday before you're able to have your questions answered. So how about getting in those calls now? 876-922-4113 to 5. 876-922-4113 to 5. The text line for Land Solutions is the same as the WhatsApp number, 876-881-5254. 876-881-5254. The website is landsolutionsja.com. Landsolutionsja.com. The email address is gloria@landsolutionsja.com. gloria@landsolutionsja.com. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/landsolutionsja, facebook.com/landsolutionsja. The law firm Brown, Findley and Company is headquartered in Suite 39 of the Winchester Business Center, corner of Winchester Road and Hope Road in Halfway Tree. There's also an office at the JN building. In fact, upstairs, that's Shop 6, upstairs, the Jamaica National Building in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. You're encouraged to call ahead before turning up at the offices of Brown, Findley and Company. The numbers to call 876-908-1950 or 876-908-3518. If you wish to be in direct touch with the Ocho Rios offices of the law firm Brown, Findley and Company, you can call directly, and that number is 876-974-6083. 876-974-6083. Once again, here's attorney at law, Calicia Findley.
that it means they get a great share in the estate or they get to dictate what happens. No, it does not. You're just doing that out of the goodness of your heart. It doesn't give you any greater enticement to get. Who pays tuition here for the valuation and the survey of value report? So it is no law that says the purchaser or the seller should pay. Usually it is the purchaser the 9% time to the purchaser who pays for the report. Why? Because as the person, the lender sells you the property as is, and as the purchaser, it is incumbent upon you do your due diligence to ensure that you are getting back for your property. You must show the requirements that I said from the purchaser if the purchaser would usually pay. You cannot compare, you cannot force a seller to provide this report for you. If the seller wants to provide this report to the purchaser, no problem, go ahead. If the parties decide that they want to take the cost between themselves, no problem, you can go ahead. Again, there is no general rule, but usually it's the purchaser who pays for the report. I don't think the person my mother has chosen as her executor is qualified. How can I get her to choose someone else? Sadly, you may not be able to, because ultimately it is her decision. And I understand you are looking out for your mother's best interest. Have a conversation with her, let her know exactly how you feel, and state your piece. Because at the end of the day, if she still chooses to go with that person, I'm sorry, there is nothing you can do. When someone is making their will, they decide who they want to be their executors, they decide who they want to be their sponsors. And as you may know, even though you are her child, you really don't have that conversation, but in that she's still good with that person, that's just something you're going to have to accept.
That's how it is.
My grandfather purchased a piece of land in the early 1960s. He built on the property and rebuilt it until he lived in 1992. He built the property to be sold before he died. All taxes were being paid, but the property was still listed under the original property estate. There is no record of a title. The study also listed. I know that the property has been built to meet the property. Alright. How long ago did your father die? Did your father leave a will? If your father died recently and he left a will, you have to probate the will and then you can apply for a title. And the first thing you will do is to get the property probate. If you have been on the property, you have been taken care of, if you've lived on it for over 12 years, you don't have to probate your father's will, you can just do the application for title. Again, the first step is to get the property probate. So whenever you're applying for title, the very first thing you do is get the property survey. If the person died a long time ago, you don't have to go through the process of probate procedure if you can show that you have been on the property for a long time. I told my husband that I want to be joint tenant, but now I think I want to be tenant in common. We haven't signed any documents yet. How do I tell it without causing an issue? Alright, so with a joint tenancy, for those of you who may not know, it's a bag of everything. So when you own property as joint tenants and one person dies, the bag is joint tenancy. When you own a tenancy common, you own separate shares, so you can build your share to someone else. So this person initially had a discussion with their husband and they agreed to be joint tenants. Now she seems to be changing her mind. She wants to be joint tenant. How does she have a discussion with her husband without it causing an issue? You just have to have the discussion, my dear. Approach it from a peaceful perspective. Um, Outline your concerns. Tell him why you want to change from joint tenants to tenants in common. You can say something to the effect that if anything happens to you, you want to will your share to your children. That's 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 one angle that can be taken. For couples, a lot of people still think that because it is you're supposed to have to with your wife or your husband that you have to be joint tenants. Absolutely not. You can choose to be tenants in common. It doesn't make your ownership any different. It doesn't affect your, it doesn't change anything. You both still own the property together. So think about it this way. If you want to be able to will your share to someone else, then it is best to choose tenancy in common. So this is how I would approach the conversation. And you can also say, listen, we also have the option after choosing tenants in common, if we choose to change it a couple years down the line, we can change it back to joint tenancy. So there really should be no issue. It may not be the most comfortable of conversation, but at least it is a conversation worth having now before you actually sign any documentation. Thanks as always for tuning in for another edition of Land Solution. I've been your host for today, Alicia Midway. And thanks, Dervan, and take care.
Help us protect Jamaica's borders. Tell us about any illegal guns coming through customs controlled areas. Call Crime Stop at 311. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is 3:13.
There's a retirement crisis in Jamaica, with only approximately 10% of the working population saving towards retirement. Many people do not participate in a formal pension plan, such as contract workers and the self-employed, and some are not eligible for a government pension. Every member of the workforce has the opportunity to participate in a pension plan and secure a monthly income for their retirement. Join Real Business every Monday at 9:30 a.m. for an informative Peter Rose Hall, Managing Director of BPM Financial, discussing the importance of retirement planning and the solutions to move Jamaica out of this crisis. Retirement Wealth Creation is brought to you by BPM Financial Limited. Take you higher.
Welcome to Asha Ash, who's normally communicating with us from London, England. She is home in the friendly city, Montego Bay. Welcome home, Asha Ash. Welcome home. We trust you'll enjoy your holiday right here in Jamaica, and more precisely in the friendly city, Montego Bay. Welcome home, Asha Ash. Good afternoon to Donovan Campbell. Thank you very much for tuning in on YouTube. Hello and welcome to Andrea Jackson. She says, happy Monday to you and your listeners. We reciprocate wholeheartedly, Andrea Jackson. Velta Wilson is in St. Thomas. Good afternoon. Marvelous Monday to you too. Thank you for joining us. Hello as well to Jacqueline Simmons. Good afternoon. Faye Weller says, hello, Mr. Dervan and listeners. I'm here listening. Welcome, Faye Weller. Blessed love to you all, she says. Dr. Trevor Dixon, emergency medicine physician at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx, New York, founder of the Jaja Foundation, Jamaicans Abroad, helping Jamaicans at home. He's conveying greetings to the entire both sides of the story listenership. Thank you very much, Dr. Dixon. Good to have you on board. All the very best. Keep those messages coming in. 869224112 are the numbers to call. Whatever's in your mind, would love to hear. What are the topics making up the discussions in your community, at your place of work, at school, on the buses, on the taxis, on the streets? What's the word? 876-922-4112 876-922-4112 Text line, same as the WhatsApp number, which means you can not only send us your text messages, your WhatsApp messages, your voice notes, but you can call us on WhatsApp as well. 876-365-3346. We're seeing quite an unending list of messages. We missed a couple, it seems. We missed a few messages. There's one that came in from Rudolph in Stony Hill saying, "Season's greetings, sir. We, the security officers, would want the security companies to honor the ruling. I take vacation leave and I'm not being paid for it. Near 3 months now, the court rule. We are not contractors. Things need to put in place for security benefits," says Rudolph in Stony Hill. Well, that's going to the support of all stakeholders to get this new approach off the ground. And there's no time like the present. We hope it works out, Rudolph, and all the other security guards. Good afternoon to Lena. Hello to those who send us messages with links that we can't open. Someone has sent us a voice note. We have to listen to that off air to make a determination as to how to deal with it. Good afternoon to BL in Canada. This one says, "Hi Dervan, congratulations on 30 years. Well, personally speaking, I'm not there yet. It will take a few months into the new year, all things being well. It will take months. But Power 106 FM is celebrating its 30th anniversary. And the effective date was the 1st of December. Power 106 FM went on air the 1st of December, 1992. And thank you very much for your message, nonetheless. Here's another. Oh. Good afternoon to Adoma Patterson. Good to hear from you. Immediate past president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. Thank you very much, Miss Adoma. Thank you very much for reconnecting, and we're going to be following up with you at the earliest opportunity. Making another note. Thank you very much. Adoma Patterson, immediate past president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. And we look forward to speaking with your successor, David Betty, who is now the president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. Thank you, Adoma Patterson. We'll follow up. Pearl Brown, Miss Pearl, says, "Sir D, this is for Monday. Road accidents. I'm sure you mean crashes. Just watching TVJ News, blaming bad road, no lights. Yes, the lighting from St. Anne's Bay to Rotary is very bad. But guess what? If they cut down on speeding and stop drinking, boom and white rum and smoke ganja. I saw with my own eyes. Ibadsa, says Miss Pearl. Yes, it's awful. It's terrible. It's it it's despicable. Let's go to some of the other messages. Richie Nebar has messaged us. Somebody called Jeremy Life. Also, Richie Innocent has sent us an audio recording. But all of these will have to go through off air to decide where we go from here. Let's go down the line. Going down the line here. What do we have here? Pilmar Powell, how are you? Good afternoon. What are you up to this time? Calvin in North York, Ontario, Canada. Good afternoon. Sharon Smith of the Hosemati Alumni Association, New York chapter. Greetings to you too. Thank you for tuning in. Bishop Douglas Gooden, always up to something good. Good afternoon, Bishop. Norman Wright of the Sipakoppa line of teas and Tops Teas. Good afternoon to you as well. And all the members of the team at Perishables, Jamaica. Thank you very much. Someone has created a support group. We haven't had a chance to digest that. Let's go down. Rico is promoting Topper Things Hardware. All right, Rico. Caribbean Connection. Good afternoon to the members of the Caribbean Connection team. Clarky Bless in Hunstown, St. Mary says, good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. Happy Monday to you and your listeners. With the decision taken by the G7 group of countries to cap the price of Russian oil to Russia, by the threat of Russia to stop the supply of oil to these countries, Russia is the second biggest supplier of crude oil. At the same time, the group of top oil-producing countries, OPEC, is saying it will stick to the policy of reducing output. What effect will all this have on us here in Jamaica? Well, the fact that we spend, what was the figure now? At one point, it was close to $3 billion on oil. It naturally will have implications for us. Oil is the fuel of our economy. It's the fuel of the engine room. Goes without saying. Clarky Bless in Hunstown, St. Mary. What we have to do is to try to be as efficient as possible in our management and use of oil so that we can get maximum outcomes with minimum effort just by being more efficient. But there are some things we do not have control over, like the price of oil. And so we have to organize ourselves and our affairs in such a way that we are as efficient as can be. So those of us who drive and sometimes make 10 trips when one would do, and planning your route so you don't end up going the wrong way or going another way and having to expend fuel unnecessarily. So personal responsibility is going to be key. And it shouldn't only be when there's an oil crisis or a situation, and whether in Russia or Ukraine, for us to start talking about these matters. Let's go to James in East London. He has sent us the usual collection of stories coming out of the UK. Nigeria's 11 billion London trial will expose corruption, court hears. London crime, weekend of violence as woman stabbed at house party, man shot in tube station, and teen fights for life after stabbing. All this happening in the United Kingdom. Video footage has been released in a bid to track down the owner of a dog who mauled a girl on her way to school, leaving her with serious injuries. The victim, 11, was walking in London's Tower Hamlets when she passed a man walking two dogs at around 8:30 a.m. Terrible situation there. Zahawi shuts down Boris supporters as he warns no chance Johnson to return as PM. Firefighters begin voting on strikes over pay. Santa Claus is coming to London town as we gear up for the Christmas period. You might be looking to take your little one to see the Christmas lights and to visit Santa, either as a way to find out what they're really hoping for this year or to scare them into behaving so close to the big day. That's one of the stories, another of the stories coming out of the UK. London has called for another lockdown as Oxford Street. And where's the rest of the story? After central London streets were rammed with shoppers on the first weekend in December. So already the silly season is in full gear at home and abroad, because we have had our fair share here in Jamaica as well. Let's see. Woman in her, we read that story already. Raheem Sterling is among dozens of top flight footballers who have had their homes targeted by thieves. Several Manchester United players have been victims. More in a moment.
Kingston Logistics Center. Want to set up a nice Kabara restaurant? Pick up call Kingston Logistics Center 876-757-5358 or visit www.klclogisticsja.com or 146 First Street, Northwest. Kingston Logistics Center for faster, smart, and containerized solutions.
Water for agricultural purposes? Apply to the National Irrigation Commission for your irrigation services. Let's grow smart and eat smart with irrigated agriculture. Call National Irrigation Commission at 876-927-6727. Visit their website at www.nicjamaica.com or visit any of their office locations today. Irrigation, making the difference in agriculture.
32 of the world's best national football teams have converged in the Middle Eastern nation of Qatar for the greatest show on earth, the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Tune into Power Play from now until December 18th for the 2022 FIFA World Cup Roundup, Monday to Friday, 6:10 to 6:30 p.m. Brought to you by PNB Williams Heavy Limited and Mountain Black Quarry and Dock Factory.
We were sharing the stories with you as packaged by James in East London. The most recent one we were sharing was where Raheem Sterling was among dozens of top flight footballers who have had their homes targeted by thieves. Several Manchester United players have been victims, with Tahith Chong, Victor Lindelof, and Jesse Lingard all having break-ins early this year. Chong was held at knife point by intruders in the middle of the night. This is all happening in England. Raheem Sterling, police release details after England stars home robbed during World Cup. Met police officers based at London schools to face extra checks on treatment of black students with scrutiny of body-worn cameras. Glasgow airport lockdown live as central search area closed due to what has been described as police incident. Thank you very much, James in East London, for filling us in on the top stories making the news in the UK. And this one, what's this now? President George M. Weah of Liberia and First Lady Claire Weah and young soccer player Timothy Weah will be the guests on tonight's community-focused radio show from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on WVIP 93.5 FM Radio, New York. The host is UNIA President General Michael R. Duncan. We haven't had a talk with Michael R. Duncan in a little while. We'll see if we can listen in on this event. Sister Audrey Dennis, Monday, December 5, greeting fellow Garveyites. So as it turns out, we're in this chat group as well and didn't even realize that, a WhatsApp group. Let's see. Precious in New Monkland, St. Thomas says, good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. Still no signal from Power 106. Precious from New Monkland, St. Thomas. We're immediately forwarding your issue to the transmission group, the transmission WhatsApp group, TV and radio. And we're going to include your contact information as well. And we're going to be forwarding this information right now to the transmission TV radio WhatsApp group. We just did, and we await a response. Barbara Horton has sent us a voice note, which we'll have to listen to off air. Good afternoon, Barbara Horton. Paulette Saunders has also sent us a voice note, which we'll have to listen to off air. Cuban in Georgia says, good afternoon, Sir Malcolm. The people of Jamaica must get serious and stop making the government treat them badly and take them for fools. We have gas in Haiti. We don't need Russian oil. We have to get back Black Wall Street in the Eastern Caribbean, says Cuban in Georgia. Thank you very much for your messages. Keep them coming in. 876-365-3346. Same line for the text messages and the WhatsApp messages. 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. The regular call-in lines. 876-922-4112-5. 876-922-4112-5. We're streaming live on the Dervan Malcolm Facebook page and affiliated pages. If you're not there yet, log on to Facebook. In the search box atop the page, type DERVAN MALCOLM, and you too will be able to not just hear but see what's happening in the studios of Power 106 FM. It was on this day in 1492 that Christopher Columbus is said to have discovered Hispaniola, and Hispaniola shared by Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Let's share another nugget of history with you. Guess who was born on this day in 1937? The Honorable Lascelles Chin O.J., born at Bogwalk in St. Catherine on this day in 1937. Lascelles Chin, son of Leonard Chin, businessman, and Florence Yee. The Jamaica Bible Institute, a secondary school on Arden Road in St. Andrew, was renamed the Arden High School on this day in 1940. On this day in 1940, the Jamaica Bible Institute, a secondary school on Arden Road in St. Andrew, was renamed the Arden High School. The President General of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Alexander Bustamante, on this day in 1942, told the audience at the annual general meeting of the union at the Conversorium on Duke Street in Kingston that I will be the first prime minister of this country if it should get self-government. You will put me there, and I will be the first prime minister at King's House. Talk about speaking it into being. 20 years later, this was 1942, 20 years later, and Sir Alexander Bustamante became prime minister. As he said 20 years earlier, as President General of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Alexander Bustamante told the audience at the annual general meeting of the union at the Conversorium on Duke Street in Kingston in 1942. On this day in 1942, William Alexander Clark, otherwise known as Alexander Bustamante, said, I will be the first prime minister of this country if it should get self-government. You will put me there, and I will be the first prime minister at King's House. What a thing. That was 1942. It took 20 years, but it still came into being. It still happened, didn't it? 20 years later. Oh, well. All right, let's see. 1945, a women's hostel and housecraft training center at at Elizabeth House at 4 Rosedale Avenue in Kingston was declared open by Reverend J.C. Swaby. The hostel provided decent board and lodging for 18 young women whose homes were far away at rates lower than they would ordinarily be called upon to pay. 14 girls, one selected from each parish by the Women's League, would be given training in housecraft in the institution to form a sort of elite of domestics in Kingston and St. Andrew. Let's go to 1945. 3 new perfumes, Illusion, Caribbean Nights, and Couscous, were on sale for the first time at the Enterprise, Time Store, Dadlani's, and Sasso's, 3 of the main stores on King Street in Kingston. The perfumes were the latest offered to the public by Madame Rose Leon, cosmetologist, and have been blended in her cosmetic factory. In announcing these new perfumes, Madame Rose said that during her trip the previous summer to the USA, she visited a number of laboratories and was able to purchase the equipment and other materials to manufacture these new products. They're also being offered in 2-ounce flasks, boxed for gifts, and also in tiny purse sizes for the convenience of the well-groomed woman. Her Eau de Toilette, Lime Cool, and Lady Glow hair dye had already proven to be favorites among the women of Jamaica. Can you imagine? These items used to be made right here in Jamaica. These brands used to be manufactured right here in Jamaica. Couscous, Caribbean Nights, and Illusion, 3 new perfumes, among others. Among other items, the Lady Glow hair dye. The Lady Glow hair dye. Wonder how many people remember this. Also, and those had already been proven to be favorites among the women of Jamaica. So here's a bit on Madame Rose Agatha Leon, the first woman minister of government and the only politician to have held a post in the cabinet of both the JLP and the PNP-led government. Rose Agatha Leon was born in Kingston, Jamaica on October 20, 1911, the daughter of Dr. R.J. Huey and Mrs. Huey. She was educated at Central Branch School, Woolmer's High School for Girls, and the Abyssinian School of Cosmetic Chemistry. Did you hear that? Did you know that we used to have a school of that nature, the Abyssinian School of Cosmetic Chemistry? Before entering the political arena, Madame Rose and her husband, Arthur Alexander Leon, established a manufacturing company, Leon's Beauty Products. Serious business. Leon's Beauty Products. Arthur Alexander Leon and her husband, and his wife, Madame Rose Leon, established a manufacturing company, Leon's Beauty Products, in 1939, and later the decades-old Leon School of Beauty. She joined the Jamaica Labour Party in 1944 and was elected chairman of the party in 1948. Madame Rose was an ardent party activist and fundraiser, even seconding her own staff members to support the JLP's office and purchasing furniture from her own pocket. The late Lady Bustamante said of her, "No one in either the JLP or the PNP has been able to match the length or quality of her service for 12 years as chairman of the party." After winning the Western St. Andrew seat for the JLP in 1949 general elections, Madame Rose Leon began 8 distinctive years of service as a member of parliament. After the ministerial system was established in the Jamaican Constitution in 1953, she was appointed the Minister of Health and Housing. In 1960, Madame Rose left the JLP, but was unsuccessful in running as an independent candidate. In 1967, she was invited to join the PNP by the Right Honourable Norman Manley, winning a seat in the local government election in 1969. More in a moment.
At Wellington Dental, they offer cleaning, filling, whitening, and other services for the entire family. The time by Wellington Dental is 4 o'clock.
¿Qué hora es en español? You heard it. Son las 4. Quelle heure est-il? Il est 4 heures. 现在几点了？4点。4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you had a checkup lately? If not, now is a good time. Let's not wait till we get sick to get a checkup. How about that? Checking in with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM, sharing with you the story of Madame Rose Leon. She served as chairperson of the KSAC Roads and Works Committee from 1969 to 1972, and as deputy mayor of the KSAC in 1971. In 1972, Madame Rose regained the West Rural St. Andrew seat for the PNP and was appointed Minister of Local Government. She lost the seat in the 1976 election to Dr. Mavis Gilmore and was appointed Special Advisor to the Minister of Social Security until her retirement from active politics in 1980. This allowed the manufacturing dynamo to expand her businesses and dedicate herself to the cause of local manufacturing and women's causes. She was a founding member of the Jamaica Manufacturers Association, serving as its president in 1967. She became one of their longest-serving board members and was made a life member in 1993. She was also a founding member of the enduring Jamaica Federation of Women, along with Lady Huggins. Madame Rose was a dedicated wife, mother, and grandmother, and mentored hundreds of young students who became successful business owners in Jamaica's burgeoning business industry. Her daughter, Mrs. Gloria Millwood, succeeded her as head of the manufacturing and training businesses, and her granddaughter, Dr. Giselle Leon Rich, is a well-known authority on nutrition and wellness. Among Madame Rose Leon's many awards are the National Honor of the Order of Distinction, Commander Class, the Woman of Distinction Award from the Bureau of Women's Affairs in 1985 at the end of the UN Decade for Women, and a special awardee as one of the country's longest-serving Justices of the Peace. Madame Rose was also honored by New York Mayor John V. Lindsay with the keys to the city of New York in 1971. Right Honorable Lord Mays, Lord Mayor of London, with the City of London Medal in 1973. The Bustamante Institute for her outstanding contribution to Caribbean and the field of politics as the first woman Minister of Government in Jamaica. The St. Andrew Business and Professional Women's Club in 1989 in recognition of distinguished public service and leadership. The KSAC in 1999 75th Anniversary Award posthumously for long and dedicated service. Madame Rose Leon lived her motto, hard work as a way to achievement, envy no one. The Jamaica Women's Political Caucus launched the Rose Leon Memorial Lecture Series in 2002. At the inaugural lecture, the Honorable Dudley Thompson described her as a people's politician. Always uppermost in her mind and actions were the underclass, the underprivileged in our society, said Ambassador Thompson. She had sincere and genuine compassion for them, and they in turn replied with an effusion of popular love. In reflecting on her accomplishments, the ambassador said she sent a clear signal that the women of Jamaica were ready and that the woman's place was not only at home, but in the forefront of national development. He recalled her service as Minister of Housing and Health during the regional epidemic of poliomyelitis. Madame Rose threw herself into the task and rallied the entire health department behind her. She visited every trouble spot and eventually saved this country from this dreadful affliction. This and much more of her work is not as well known as it should be. Madame Rose lost her life tragically in a robbery at her St. Andrew home in 1999. Her work continues to inspire Jamaican women in politics and business who, in recalling her phenomenal achievements, are convinced, in the words of Mohandas Gandhi, if the qualities of gentleness, compassion, tolerance, and peace are the standards by which we judge mankind, then surely it is a libel to describe women as being the weaker sex. To mark the centenary of the birth of Madame Rose Leon, there was a wreath-laying ceremony at her grave at the Dovecot Memorial Park on that was a few years ago. Wreaths were laid by the Leon family, Lay Magistrates Association, Leon School of Beauty, and Rose Leon Trust for the Jamaica Women's Political Caucus. To the phone lines now, 876-922-4112-5. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling. Good afternoon to you, sir, retired sergeant. Wow. Mm-hmm.
foam industry, and they make these long clamps and sell these disposable people in color. So that is a bit of from which Madame Rose generated her footprint perfume. So anybody, and if I have anybody who hears this, just fill up the Christmas grass, go down the governor grass, and then they may call you and give you a present of all. And nice in your cabinet, in your wardrobe, and so to make it go smell nice, nice, nice. Have a blessed day, sir.
And the same to you, JDF retired Sergeant Peter David Williams.
God bless.
Bless you too. Take care. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. Hello to Dr. Sharon Wiles. She says, greetings, Sir Dervan from Cleveland, Tennessee. Keep up the great work. You've been racking up some serious miles. Well done, Sharon Wiles. Ricardo in Glengoff, St. Catherine is greeting us and the rest of the world. Welcome, Ricardo. Good to have you on board. Thank you very much for making it both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. Born on this day in 1947, Orette Bruce Golding, the third of four children, born to father Tatius Golding and mother Enid Golding, née Bent, meaning she was born bent. If you ever see that, you see a name, a female's name, and in brackets, NEE, followed by another name. The NEE, née, is the past tense of naître, the French verb to be born. Naître, N-A-I-T-R-E. If when you listen to the death announcements on the radio as well, you would hear them say, Carol Brown, née White, meaning she was born white, but married brown. So that's a French term that is used in death announcements. Right. So how did we get there? Enid Golding, née Bent, right, was the mother of former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. He was born in the home of his godmother. Bruce Golding was born in the home of his godmother, Mrs. Winifred Stewart, where his mother was staying in order to be in close proximity to the doctor. Shortly after birth, he was taken home to the community of Ginger Ridge in St. Catherine, where he lived for 2 years. The Golding family then moved to the community of St. Faith's district near Browns Hall, St. Catherine, where they lived for the next 5 years. He was enrolled in Watermount Elementary School at the age of 5, 2 years younger than the normal enrollment age. The then principal was early childhood education pioneer, the great DRB Grant. In January 1954, he was sent to live for 6 months with his aunt at Skibo in Portland. During his stay, he attended the Skibo Elementary School. He then returned to St. Faith's District and attended the Maca Tree Elementary School, where his father was principal. As a result of the fact that his mother, Enid Golding, was then employed to Alpha Primary School in January 1955, he was enrolled in this institution. He sat the Common Entrance examination in 1957 and was successful. However, he was not awarded a free place or free space to St. George's College on the grounds that he was too young. Armed with his Common Entrance results, the young Bruce Golding went to St. George's College without the knowledge or consent of his parents to plead his case. The then headmaster, Father Donahue, overheard him speaking with his secretary and took him into his office. As a result, he accepted him as a first form student under the condition his parents could afford to pay the tuition. In 1962, he successfully sat the Cambridge examination before he reached the age of 15. In 1963, he then transferred to Jamaica College to pursue his religious knowledge and was also chosen to represent the school as head boy. In 1966, he enrolled in the University of the West Indies, where he studied economics. He graduated 3 years later with a BSc degree in economics. In 1967, while still at university, Mr. Golding suspended his studies due to changes in the constituency boundaries, which resulted in a political crisis for his father. Golding took charge of his father's campaign, which resulted in his winning the seat by a small margin of 878 votes, compared to the usual over 3,000 votes. In 1968, Bruce Golding was elected vice chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party constituency executive for West St. Catherine and appointed a member of the board of directors of the National Lotteries Commission while still attending university. In 1969, after completing his studies at the University of the West Indies, Golding was selected as the candidate for the West St. Catherine constituency. He was only 21 years old. He was also elected to the Central Executive of the Jamaica Labour Party and was one of the founders of the youth arm, Young Jamaica. He went on to be elected the youngest member of parliament in the 1972 general elections at 24 years old. Mr. Golding tendered his resignation effective September 6, 1995, as opposition spokesman on finance and by extension chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. He then tendered his resignation to the Jamaica Labour Party effective Monday, October 3, 1995. Under the stewardship of Mr. Bruce Golding, the National Democratic Movement, NDM, was launched on Sunday, October 29, 1995, where he was elected as its first president. Mr. Golding tendered his resignation to the NDM in 2001 and was invited to host a radio talk show, Disclosure, on Hot 102. In September 2002, we'll tell you what happened in a moment.
Contractors, developers, and small builders. Coast to coast quarries, coast to coast concrete, and coast to coast enterprise. Take this opportunity to save bags for your business. Promise to continue to provide quality products in the coming year. Join us as we celebrate this Christmas season by being safe and responsible. Coast to coast for companies, we deliver.
Avoid the hustle and bustle and choose Health First Pharmacy. Shop 5138 Muirhead Avenue, Maypen. And our newest edition, Clark's Professional Pharmacy, open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They offer ARVs, veterinary products, also the PPP program. Health First Pharmacy, for all your pharmacy and surgical items. They accept all major health, credit, and debit cards. Call 876-632-0979, 676-1871, or 455-5162.
¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 4:16. Quelle heure est-il en français? Il est 4:17. 现在几点了？4:17分。16:16. 16 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you done your homework yet? If not, now is a good time. Good afternoon to all the schoolers listening to us, all the students from the early childhood level to the secondary level. Trust you had a productive day of learning today. Hope you also managed to get in some physical activity, just as important as mental activity. As we always say, young people, socialization makes you educable, Education makes you trainable. Training makes you employable. And the right attitude makes you successful. Homework time, young people. Let's complete the story of Bruce Golding, who was born on this day in 1947. In September of 2002, after intensive negotiations, Mr. Golding re-entered the Jamaica Labour Party. Mr. Golding contested the general election of 2007 as president of the Jamaica Labour Party. The party was successful in what was the closest election in Jamaican history. He was sworn in as the Honorable Oret Bruce Golding, Prime Minister of Jamaica, on September 11, 2007. Mr. Golding resigned as Prime Minister on October 23, 2011. Also born on this day in 1951, Jean Laurie, born in Westmoreland, the daughter of Maisie née Williams and Jocelyn Laurie, chartered accountant. Jean Laurie Chin is communications consultant, seniors advocate, author, and newspaper columnist. She's the founder and managing director of ProCom, Pro Communications Limited, PRO Communications Limited, ProCom for short, and also the founder of CCRP, Caribbean Community of Retired Persons. Laurie Chin was born in 1951 to her parents Maisie and Sydney Gopal Singh in Westmoreland, Jamaica. Her widowed mother later married noted accountant Jocelyn E. Laurie, who adopted her 4 children and was an exemplary father. What an example, goodness. The family moved to the capital city, Kingston, where she attended Alpha Preparatory School, the Convent of Mercy Academy Alpha for girls, and then the University of the West Indies from 1970 to 1973, graduating with a BA honors in literature. She returned to UWI to complete an MA in literature in 1987. She worked at the now defunct Jamaica Daily News as a journalist before teaching at Calabar High School. She left Calabar to become a PR officer at Carifesta 76, a Caribbean festival, before she joined Dunlop Corbin Compton Advert as a PR manager. She launched her own company in December 1978, PRO Communications Limited. In 1988, her husband, engineer Hubert Chin, joined the company, bringing his expertise in information technology, which resulted in great success for the company. ProCom Limited was instrumental in building several brands in Jamaica and developing affirmation programs for teachers, nurses, police officers, and household workers. The firm has provided public relations, advertising, and marketing services to several local and international corporations and organizations. These include Digicel, Food for the Poor, the Norwegian Seafood Export Council, Ray and Nephew Limited, Pepsi, Sandals Group, and the Electoral Office of Jamaica, and the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Mrs. Laurie Chin founded an organization for retired persons in Jamaica, the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, CCRP, April 2010, which aims at the empowerment of Caribbean seniors. ProCom is currently the major sponsor of this organization. In 2013, Mrs. Laurie Chin and her husband created a real estate development company, ProDev, ProCom Developments Limited, and have embarked on commercial and residential projects in the New Kingston area. As a writer, she has been a columnist for the Jamaica Observer newspaper since 2001, a contributing writer to Jamaicans.com since 2004, and published a book entitled Soul Dance in 2008. Chapters of her master's thesis on Claude McKay were published in Caribbean Quarterly, published by University of the West Indies to honor the author's centenary and edited by Professor Rex Nettleford. She also wrote a chapter on CariFesta 76, the Caribbean Festival of Arts, for a history of theatre in Jamaica by Wycliffe Bennett. I have that book, and Dr. Hazel Bennett. She wrote the foreword for You Did It Unto Me, the history of Alpha by Sister Mary Bernadette Little, RSM. She also authors a blog at lori-chin.blogspot.com. She's a director of the following firms: Pro Communications Limited, ProDev Limited, CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, Jamaica, Food for the Poor, Jamaica. She's founder, CEO, and board director of the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons Limited. She's also a member of the Medical Council of Jamaica, the Friends of Dervan House, and a trustee of the Grant Spend Foundation Trust, the Madame Rose Leon Memorial Trust for the Women's Political Caucus, and the St. George's College Endowment Fund. In 1984, she created Flair magazine for the Jamaica Gleaner and edited the publication for over 3 years. Lori Chin is a Justice of the Peace for the Parish of St. Andrew and was appointed chair of the Digicel Foundation in 2014. She has received several awards, including the Women's Media Watch Trailblazer Award, the Jamaica 50 Award, presented to 50 women deemed as nation builders by the Jamaica Women's Bureau, the Alpha Academy Alumnae Woman of Excellence Award, the Kiwanis Club of New Kingston Distinguished Woman Award, and the Marion Ballising Award for Outstanding Volunteerism. We salute Jean Lori Chin on her birthday today, born on this day in 1951. Let's give you one more. We're still taking your calls on 876-922-4112 to 1960, Education Minister Florizel Glasspool and his senior staff moved into the new ministry building, which had been built at the site of the former offices on South Race Course in Kingston. Because the offices facing the road have these large sliding glass windows, the building was already called Glasspool's Glass House. That's what they used to call that building, which still to this day houses the Ministry of Education. They used to call it Glasspool's Glass House when Sir Florizel was the Education Minister. 1962, a 5-man mission to Jamaica from the International Monetary Fund arrived at Palisadoes Airport on a Pan Am flight on this day in 1962. This was the first contact with Jamaica since Jamaica had been accepted as a member of the International Monetary Fund earlier in the year. According to the IMF's chief of the division in the Caribbean, Mr. J. Clark, the purpose of the visit was to make a study of Jamaica's economic and financial position and subsequently report to his board of directors. Commenting on Jamaica's acceptance as a member of the Monetary Fund, Mr. Clark said he was delighted at such an achievement and said that this was a major step for Jamaica in entering the financial world. He added that he was very impressed with the rate of economic growth in Jamaica and said that Jamaica had one of the fastest rates of economic growth in the Western Hemisphere. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Let's repeat that bit of information by the chief of the IMF's Caribbean division, Mr. J. Clark. He said he was delighted at the achievement of Jamaica being associated with the IMF. And he said this was a major step for Jamaica entering the financial world. He added that he was very impressed with the rate of economic growth in Jamaica and said that Jamaica had one of the fastest rates of economic growth in the entire Western Hemisphere. What happened, Jamaica? What happened? What happened? What happened? Oh dear. 1962, Harold L. Lindo, acting permanent secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, left Jamaica for London to assume the post of Jamaica's first High Commissioner to London. Jimmy Lloyd, who was on secondment to Grenada as administrator, would now take up duties as permanent secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. 1962, once again, the executive of the People's National Party issued a policy directive that the national anthem of Jamaica is to be sung at the end of all party functions and meetings. That's 1962. The executive of the People's National Party issued a policy directive that the national anthem of Jamaica is to be sung at the end of all party functions and meetings. 1963, Douglas Forrest, headmaster of Kingston College, announced that Melbourne Park on Elliston Road had been purchased from the Melbourne Cricket Club by the Kingston College Trust and would be used to construct class buildings to teach technical subjects and industrial arts. 1964, the printing press, cabinets, and other equipment of the Falmouth Press in Falmouth, Trelawney, fell through the flooring of the premises into a 7-foot deep cellar. The building was an old Georgian one, constructed more than 150 years earlier. Ouch. Let's take you to the break and come back with more in just a moment.
Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for your legal corner with Dana Walker Huntington, doing both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters, combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-922-41125 or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's your legal corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
Richie Stevens was born in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland on this day in 1966. ¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 4:30. Quelle heure est-il en français? Il est 5h moins 29. 现在几点了？5点加29分. 29 minutes to 5 o'clock. Before that, it was 4:30. Do you know where your children are? Are they where they're supposed to be? Doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's a good time to check up on the children. A good time for us to continue with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. JHG Mapp, M-A-P-P, founder of the business in Kingston bearing his name, died at his residence at 25 Hope Road in St. Andrew on this day in 1967. Mapp founded the Distributors and Manufacturers Representative Company 59 years earlier on Law Street, and it was subsequently moved to Barry Street in Kingston. He sold the business and retired in 1939. In 1969, Industry Minister Robert Lightburn, who also had responsibility for tourism, announced the construction the following year of a new 350-room convention hotel to be built on the White River property in Ocho Rios, St. Anne, by Jamaican, British, and Canadian investors. In addition, 80 villas and 70 apartments were to be constructed to provide a total of 630 new rooms for the tourist industry. Site clearing was set to begin in January 1970, and construction would then start in April 1970. On this day in 1973, the House of Representatives passed a resolution increasing the salaries of resident magistrates, the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and the Master in Chambers. Resident magistrates who were at that time receiving $8,400 per year would now be paid $11,160 to $13,560 per annum. The registrar, whose salary was 8,700 Jamaican dollars, would receive 13,080 to 14,520 Jamaican dollars per year. And the master in chamber, whose salary was $11,700 per year, would be paid in the scale of 14,520 to $15,480 per year. 1974, the Hope Institute, a 52-bed hospital in St. Andrew, was handed over to the Ministry of Health by the Jamaica Cancer Society on this day in 1974. The Hope Institute, which was the brainchild of the Jamaica Cancer Society, opened its doors in March 1993 as, well, it's a free hospital for cancer patients. It started out as a 52-bed hospital and was managed by a consultative committee. The aim of the Cancer Society was to provide treatment and care comparable to that available in private institutions and facilities overseas, at little or no charge to cancer patients. The Institute functions as well as facilitated the furthering of cancer treatment, working in tandem with the Kingston Public Hospital and the University Hospital of the West Indies. Even though the facility mainly focused on curative care, a separate wing was established in 1970 to accommodate recurrent patients and late-stage cancer cases. The Jamaica Cancer Society and the Hope Institute, by extension, was supported wholly by voluntary contributions from corporate and private sources. In 1973, it cost to run the hospital was calculated at $125,000. The government of Jamaica provided an annual grant of $60,000, while the University of the West Indies provided another $11,000, leaving the Cancer Society to provide the balance. As the time progressed, it became difficult for the institute to sustain itself, and so the Ministry of Health took over the facility in 1974. Today, Hope Institute is, the last time we checked, a 40-bed facility. The Ministry of Health was playing a monitoring role as the hospital fell under the responsibility of the Southeast Regional Health Authority, which oversees health facilities in Kingston and St. Andrews, St. Thomas, and St. Catherine. Hope Institute is part of the Ligonier region, which consists of National Chest Hospital and the Sir John Golding Rehabilitation Center. Sir John Golding, father of the current opposition leader, Mark Golding. The Chief Executive Officer, which let's see. Right, so that's a bit on the Hope Institute and related matters. Let's go to 1976. On this day, 1976, the Jose Marti School at Twickenham Park near Spanish Town, which was built by Cuban construction workers and completed 2 months earlier than the scheduled 8 months, was handed over to Prime Minister Michael Manley by Cuban ambassador to Jamaica, Ramon Perez. The school had accommodation for 500 boarders. Additionally, there were two football fields, a cricket field, and courts for volleyball, netball, and basketball. On this day in 1997, election was in the air here in Jamaica. The Gleaner reported on this day in 1997 that the placing of the names of voters in wrong polling divisions on the voters list had the three major political parties scurrying to inform voters about where they would cast their ballots. The director of elections, Danville Walker, was reported as saying that he was relying on the political parties to assist in informing electors where they would vote. Mr. Walker said there might have been about 100 electors in each constituency who were placed in polling divisions outside the ones in which they would normally vote. And that situation apparently didn't shift didn't shift the the plan and ultimately execution of the electorate to go out and vote for the People's National Party. 1998, the Gleaner reported that the Senate passed an amendment to the Bauxite Production Levy Act the previous day after a debate about whether the money from the levy had benefited the Jamaican people over the years. Independent Senator Douglas O'Rain asked what was there to show for the $3 billion US dollars collected through the levy in the Capital Development CDF since its introduction in 1974. However, leader of government business in the Senate, Maxine Henry Wilson, said some of the money had been invested in institutions vital to the survival of the industry and to finance the development banks offering loans to the productive sector. On this day in 2001, council members of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, elected chairman and managing director of the Gleaner, Oliver Clark, as their new president. Mr. Clark replaced Citibank country manager Peter Moses, who did not seek re-election after serving 3 consecutive terms. On this day in 2003, would you believe it? Jamaica was under a storm watch. On this day in 2003, the National Meteorological Service issued a tropical storm warning for Jamaica following the formation of Tropical Storm Odette in the Caribbean 4 days after the end of the traditional hurricane season. The Met Office said Tropical Storm Odette was the first off-season tropical storm recorded in a long time. Odette was about 425 kilometers south-southeast of Kingston. On this day in 2007, Jamaicans went to the polls to cast their ballots in local government elections. Nomination day was November 19. Prime Minister Bruce Golding made the announcement at his West Kingston constituency conference in Tivoli Gardens. It was the second straight victory at the polls in just 3 months and its third local government victory in 4 years. At the end of the preliminary count, the JLP had won 9 of the 13 parish councils, while the St. Anne Parish Council was declared a tie, with both the JLP and the opposition People's National Party winning 8 divisions each in the 16-seat council. The PNP, which only won Westmoreland and Portmore in 2003 elections before adding Portland, picked up Hanover and Manchester to go along with Westmoreland. On this day in 2007, the Gleaner reported that gunmen had killed 47 people in 7 days. See why some of us have become so numb and generally just in a state where they're no longer terrified or surprised or shocked at the numbers. And we're still there, apparently. The Gleaner reported on this day in 2007 that gunmen had killed 47 people in 7 days. This was despite the deploying of military personnel in the 142 hotspots across the country. Now, this is something because as it is now, we've had these states of emergency at different points across the country, at different points in time. But back in 2007, the military personnel were deployed in the 142 hotspots across the country. So the approach taken at that time was to identify the so-called hotspots in Jamaica as far as crimes and in particular murders were concerned. So they were able to identify 142 hotspots across Jamaica in 2007. So we had military personnel occupying spaces in 142 hotspots across Jamaica. The latest killings, this was 2007 now, pushed Jamaica's murder rate to 1,442. The 12 latest victims were killed between Monday the 3rd and Tuesday the 4th of December 2007, bringing to 47 the total number of Jamaicans killed in 7 days. What a thing.
Monday to Friday, 6:10 to 6:30 p.m. Brought to you by E&D Williams Heavy Equipment Limited and Marja Black Quarry and Lock Factory.
¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 5 menos 14. Quelle heure est-il en français? Il est 5 heures moins 14. 现在几点了？5点加14分。14 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Good afternoon to all working Jamaicans tuned into both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. It's a good time for us to ask ourselves, how productive have we been today? How productive have we been today? Let's clear some more reminders of happenings down the years. On this day in 2008, Ray Barrett, Dennis Chung, and Bindley Sangster tendered resignations to the Transport Minister, Mike Henry, hours after the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC board, admitted that there were several breaches of the government's procurement guidelines at the state-owned bus company. The three men were members of the procurement committee. On this day in 2010, Andre Franklin swept to victory in a euphoric tide over Darrell Vaz in a pulsating electoral race for General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. 89 of the 162 delegates polled their ballots in favor of Franklin to Vaz's 55 and 4 for Dr. Charlton Colley at the party's highly anticipated meeting of its central executive. The result effectively closed the door on Vaz as an officer of the party for the next year at least. Gregory Mayer assumed the position of deputy treasurer, with Robert Montague being elected deputy chairman, replacing Ruddy Spencer. Still in 2011, not still, let's go now to 2011. On this day in 2011, the headline on the front page of the Gleaner screamed, December 29 is the day, accompanied by a large picture of then Prime Minister and Jamaica Labour Party leader Andrew Holness apparently ringing a giant bell. Also on the front page, election in 3 weeks, nominations next Monday. On this day in 2011, the Court of Appeal granted the go-ahead for the Constitutional Court to hear claims of alleged breaches by some executive members of the People's National Party, PNP, in the Trafigura case. The PNP executive members were challenging a court order for them to answer questions in relation to a $31 million donation by Dutch company Trafigura Behir. On this day in 2011, the Minister of Housing, Environment, Water and Local Government, Dr. Horace Chang, told the Gleaner he had cast an eye of suspicion on the destruction of documents at the offices of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA. Dr. Chang told the Gleaner he wanted to know why someone would move to destroy documents at the agency. The minister raised the concern on this day in 2011 as an air of mystery hung over the NSWMA a little more than 24 hours after gunmen sieged its premises, tied up a security guard, and allegedly stole computers and set fire to files. 2013, the Gleaner's headline, Gay but Not Happy. That was the headline on the front page of the Gleaner on this day in 2013. The highlighted portions of the story spoke of the human rights group JFLAG urging more state support for homosexual teens living on the streets and registered the group's disappointment with Prime Minister Simpson Miller's unfulfilled promise, though she remains the best hope. The great Nelson Mandela died on this day in 2013. He was 95. The Gleaner reported on this day in 2015 that Jamaican nationals found aboard vessels containing contraband, such as drugs on the high seas, could be denied the opportunity to return to Jamaica to stand trial. The government attempted to secure the passage of an anti-crime bill to allow for the use of ministerial discretion in the process of determining which Jamaicans are returned to stand trial and which ones are sent to treaty states such as the United States of America to face its justice system. However, the effort was thwarted by legislators from both sides of the Senate who argued that the bill offends the Constitution. Mark Golding, the Justice Minister, brought the Maritime Drug Trafficking Suppression Bill to the Senate and argued that it was important in helping the fight against narco-trafficking and organized crime. On this day in 2016, the headline on the front page of the Gleaner was Portia Plans Exit. Another headline on the front page screamed, Simpson Miller stepping down as president of the PNP. According to the story, Portia Simpson Miller on December 4, 2016, told her People's National Party, PNP, that she will step down as its president by the time her current mandate expires, September 2017. But party insiders said she could leave as early as March after a leadership contest that would likely pit longtime aspirant Dr. Peter Phillips against Peter Bunting, who earlier in 2016 pulled back from a challenge of Simpson Miller. Also in 2017, on this day, gang hit hard. CTOC nabs 25 members, including cop, women. That was the headline on the front page of the Gleaner on this day in 2017. According to the story, the police were claiming a massive breakthrough into the operations of one of Jamaica's most sophisticated and ruthless criminal outfits, the Terrence Gang, which they said had extended into 7 parishes and had been responsible for a number of murders, shootings, and rapes. The police went on to say that the lawless activity of the notorious gang had been disrupted following an operation Saturday, the 2nd of December, 2017, in which 25 of its members were arrested. 3 women and a Jamaica Constabulary Force member, said to be a detective corporal, were also picked up as part of the gang's activity. They too were awaiting charges. The reputed gang leader, Uchence Wilson, was summarily arrested at Kingston Public Hospital prior to the operation. Also on the front page of the Gleaner on this day in 2017, National Integrity Action, NIA, called on the major organized crime agency, MOCA, to investigate the government's procurement procedures in the award of contracts to O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals. On that same day, the then Minister of National Security, Robert Montague, delivered a 22-page statement in the House of Representatives after questions from opposition lawmakers on the 66 vehicles on the wharf to be delivered to the police force by O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals Limited. Since then, on Thursday, the 24th of October, 2019, the Gleaner reported that more than 2 years after several missed deadlines by O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals Limited to supply 200 pre-owned vehicles to the police force, and with a scaled-down arrangement to provide half that number, the Gleaner is still awaiting 50 of the units. At yesterday's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, Diane McIntosh, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, reported that the car sales company had pledged a new deadline in November 2019 to hand over the vehicles to the police force. McIntosh was at pains to point out that the ministry had followed all procedures in the wake of the breakdown of the contract, including mediation. On this day in 2018, the Gleaner's headline was Explicit Acts of Nepotism. Auditor General releases stinging report on PCJ and Petrojam. According to the Gleaner, Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis released a damning report on the operations of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, and its affiliate, the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam, pointing to explicit acts of nepotism at both entities and deficiencies in human resource practices. Also on the front page of the Gleaner this time, in 2018, security forces launch island-wide operations to reduce crime over the holidays. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Good afternoon to you, Peter Gracie. Good to see you online. Thank you for tuning in. And a couple of other messages to clear quickly before time runs out on us. Let's see what we have here. Patriotic Jamaican in New York says, Mr. Malcolm, you asked what happened in reaction to the high praises for Jamaica by the then IMF chief in 1962. Well, I think we all know what happened. They know nothing, do nothing, all talk self-important. Politics first, visionless, shameless crowd took over. And Jamaica has gone from first to worst. It is sad, frustrating, and anger-provoking, says Patriotic Jamaican in New York. Nardia says, good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. I'm here listening to your program. You have a blessed one. Thank you. And looks like we're going to leave it there for now. Can we thank you once again for the privilege of serving you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, for today, Monday, the 5th of December, 2022. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. All things being well, Both Sides of the Story returns tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 5. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Take care.
All who coming from London, hearty welcome. Birmingham and Brixton, hearty welcome. If you're flying from Florida, hearty welcome. Washington, New York, Atlanta, hearty welcome. Connecticut, Boston, Philadelphia, hearty welcome. Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver, hearty welcome. Yes, we glad you run left the freezer, hearty welcome. And to a Irie one, Jamaican winter, hearty welcome. Y'all like you me please, welcome. Make we must do this, welcome. Long time me no see, welcome. Make we go to the street, welcome. Jump around and sing, welcome. Make we farm a ring, welcome. Run up the waist and swing, welcome. Fat gal and slim thing, welcome. Welcome back to Jamaica, one more time again, welcome. Welcome to Jamaica, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Jamaica, boyfriend and girlfriend, welcome. Welcome to Jamaica, to all the picnic days, yes. Y'all like you name miss, welcome. Make we go up and kiss, welcome. Long time we no see, welcome. Make we go to spree, welcome. Pull up your one and sing, welcome. Make we farm a ring, welcome. Make we wheel and swing, welcome. Back down and sing ting, welcome.
Bye.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
5 o'clock.
News, comprehensive, powerful, and credible.
Power 106 FM now presents a simulcast of Radio Jamaica's News at 5.